sharing a breathing technique that you can use anytime, anywhere to instantly bring yourself back into the present. I learned this back in 2014 when I was working my first health coaching certification, and I've been using it ever since. So 10 years I've been using this because it works. And my best advice, I'm going to show it to you right now. We're going to do it together. It's so simple, but the best thing to do is to practice it and get comfortable with it before you actually need it. And then you can call on it whenever. So my advice to you would be to practice this. Mornings are a great time. If you have some quiet time in the morning, you just get really intentional with it. And then some ways that you could use this breathing technique, some ways that you could help this. If you're just really stressed out, anytime you're stressed, anxious, use this. It brings you into the present. If you feel the need, if you feel like your emotions are worked up and you're going to eat, for me, it would be I'm stressed out about something or I'm angry and I want to rip open a bag of chocolate chips and dive in head first. This breathing technique is going to bring me back into the present. It may not completely stop me from wanting chocolate, but it's going to take the edge off. Really, I've used it while driving because it's so simple. You can do it without anybody even knowing you're doing it. I mean, it's great if you do it with your eyes shut. Obviously, I'm not doing that driving, but I've used it in a stressful driving situation where somebody was going off on me and I needed to keep my eye on the road. And it got me through an extremely stressful situation. So you can call on this anytime. So I'm going to explain it. We're going to do it together. And then I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about why it works, because I swear it feels magical. So what we're going to do, I call this 6-2-7 breathing. And it's a form of parasympathetic breathing. And I'll explain what that is at the end. So basically, we're going to inhale through our nose for a slow count of 6. We're going to hold that for a slow count of 2. And then exhale through our mouth for a count of 7. So our exhale is going to be longer than our inhale. We're going to do this together. Well, I don't know if you're doing it with me, but I'm encouraging you to do it with me. And I'm going to close my eyes. So I'm going to breathe in for 6. Hold for 2. Exhale for 7. Do it again. Breathe in for 6. Hold for 2. Exhale for 7. And how do you feel? It's an instant calm. Another great time to do this is before you sit down to eat, especially if you've been rushing around. And I don't always remember to do it, but when I do, it brings me into the present. It makes me truly appreciate my food. Even something as simple as a bowl of cottage cheese just tastes better when you do this. And it makes you more mindful of what you're doing. So there's 2 reasons why this works so well. The first one is that it's anytime your exhale is longer than your inhale, you are activating the parasympathetic nervous system. So the autonomic, I think I'm pronouncing it right, nervous system kind of controls stuff without us thinking about, like, being aware. But there's also the nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, and the sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic is like high alert, fight or flight. A lot of us are in that way too much of the time. We need a balance of sympathetic and parasympathetic, but most of us are in the sympathetic much longer and parasympathetic not enough, which is why it's hard for us to wind down, especially at bedtime, stuff like that. This is also great before bed. So this breathing, where that exhale is longer than the inhale, is activating that parasympathetic nervous system. It's really, really awesome. And then also, I believe simply because the counting is uneven, so you have to focus on it a bit. That is also helpful because it's making your brain think about something other than the thing that you're stressed out about. So I hope you found this helpful. If you like my content here on YouTube, this is relatively new. I'm trying to put out more really useful stuff rather than the shorter sound bites that I have on Instagram most of the time. So if you find this helpful, I'd be honored if you subscribe. I'm committed to getting more really useful content here. Share with anybody else you might find helpful, and check back, see what happens next.